Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a while. I've been away in South Africa, getting a bit of a tan. But anyway, we're back. We're going to do a tier list video for your funnels. Okay, so if you're an agency owner, maybe a B2B coach, this is going to tell you exactly what funnel you should be using in 2026 to scale. By the way, before I get into that, my name is George. I have scaled 2 7-figure agencies now in the last 4 years, and I'm making these videos to help you scale your agency with paid ads. Now, back to the funnel thing. So maybe you have a funnel, you've got a few funnels, you know what you're talking about. Maybe you don't, and you're a little bit confused as to what I'm talking about. Well, a funnel is essentially a series of website pages that are trying to get you to perform a certain action with a certain end goal, right? So for example, a VSL funnel, the goal of a VSL funnel is to take traffic, so organic social traffic where you're posting content, or paid ads traffic where you're running paid ads, send it to a landing page with a video on it. This is what a lot of agencies and coaches do use, by the way, including myself. You watch that 5-10 minute video, you get sold on the offer, and then you basically book a call. So the primary objective is a call booking. The secondary objective of that funnel is to get someone to watch the VSL. So in this video, I'm going to break down all the funnels that you can really run as an agency owner. And then I'm going to show you which is the best, in my opinion, which is the worst to stay away from in 2026. So let's jump in. Now, we have firstly the VSL funnel, as I just mentioned. So I briefly went over this already, but essentially you're taking traffic, you're sending it to a landing page. Now, this is not to be confused with an opt-in funnel. Okay, so an opt-in funnel is sort of a version of the VSL funnel, except there's a simple step before the landing page, which is an opt-in. So it's basically a page before the landing page with the video on it, where you have to do name, email, phone number. Now, these are becoming increasingly less common because trust is going down in the market. People know what is going to happen when they put their name, email, and phone number into an opt-in page. They know they're going to get absolutely blown up. And so there's an increasing amount of, fake numbers, funnel hacking, all of this nonsense. And it just basically massively increases friction, right? An absolutely perfect buyer could come along and, if they found out more about your offer via your VSL or your headline, etc., they could be sold and they could book a call. But because they see that opt-in page, they're like, oh, you know what? I've done too many of these in my time. I'm just going to bounce. All right. So I do not recommend opt-ins. Your cost per opt-in is just going to be over like $150, $100 these days. It's just too expensive. So I would just remove this friction and instead focus more on the qualification. All right. So anyway, you hit the landing page, you've got your headline, you've got your subheading, you've got your VSL, and you've got your, call to action, right? And then below this on the page, there can be a number of things. You can do testimonials, process, FAQ. But to be honest, as I've grown and matured in the world of marketing and funnels, I just like to keep these really, really short, right? So if we go to my funnel, you'll notice that it's literally just a headline, a subheading, and a calendar. That's it. Like I don't mess around. And the reason is because the longer the funnel, the less likely someone is going to take the secondary action, which is to watch the VSL. All right. If there's nothing to do here other than watch the VSL, they're going to be like, all right, fine, I'll watch it. And then boom, we hook them in, we sell them on the offer, and they're going to book a call, right? If they don't watch that VSL, your conversion rates will be a lot lower. Okay. Don't care how pretty your page is. We really need to make them watch this video. It's the whole point. So at this point, you're going to send them to, once they click, schedule a call, book a call, whatever, you're going to send them to a calendar. Now, and that's traditionally what people do in a VSL funnel. However, we have a really key step here, which is, of course, an application form. So you've heard me talk about this before. This can be Typeform. This can be iClosed. This can be Jotform. This can be Calendly routing. I mean, GHL, like there's a lot of options. I personally recommend Typeform. It's just got the best conditional logic, in my opinion, and the best conversion rate out of all forms. I've tested them all myself. Well, Typeform or iClose. I personally use iClose, so it's one of those two. Anyway, and then essentially in this form, this is then where you're going to basically ask a series of qualifying questions. So I typically like to start with, hey, are you actually in my niche? Yes or no? Because I don't care about your contact details if you're not in my niche. And then once they've said, yes, I'm an agency owner, or yes, I'm an ecom brand owner, or yes, I'm a plumber, yes, I'm an electrician, then we ask them name, email, phone number. And at this point, they've hopefully seen the VSL, seen some results, seen the offer. So they're way more willing to give us those contact details than if they were to just hit, a plain opt-in form here. So we grab the details. At this point, we want to have setters obviously dialing. We want to have a partial submit point. So this is really important. If your form software does not capture partial information, you are missing out on a ton of revenue. These partial submissions are gold. filled. And remember, sort of average is about a 30% completion rate on forms, right? So 70% of people are not completing that form. Now, a lot of those will not be completing the form because they're unqualified, but there will be some people who do not complete the form because they just get busy, they get distracted, they get a call, there's not enough availability on your calendar. So you need to absolutely hammer those people. And then obviously we want to qualify on things like revenue, maybe marketing spend, whatever else is relevant to your specific offer and business. And then of course, if they're qualified, we allow them to hit this calendar page. And if they are not qualified, we do not. All right. There's many other saucy tricks that you can do here, but this is just an overall rundown. And then of course, we've got the sales call. All right. So where do I rank the VSL funnel? Well, of course, no surprises here. The VSL funnel is absolutely S tier, right? I run it myself. Okay. I wouldn't be running it if I didn't think it was S tier. Why is it S tier? It's because the concept of a VSL is so powerful. Okay. You have basically a video asset that is selling for you 24/7. All right. People are watching that VSL while I'm asleep. And even though it's pretty short, I think it's only 6-7 minutes, it gets across enough about me, the offer, what we do, how we do it to actually sell. It's basically like the stuff that I go over in a sales call. Your VSL should basically be your pitch on a sales call, right? So it's selling people 24/7, except it's not selling the product or the price. I don't give that away. It's just selling the idea of the call. And so the VSL's job is to sell the call. The sales call's job is to sell the product, right? But I digress. That's why the VSL funnel is so powerful. It's tried and tested, and you should absolutely use it if you're not already. Now, next is, let's go to the idea of using your website. So I want to touch this because I think a lot of people think they have a VSL funnel, but they actually just have a website. Now, a website is typically one page. No, it might be more than one page, but this is the problem, right? You're going to have the option to maybe go and check out a bunch of case studies. You've got the option to go and check out your YouTube channel, your Twitter, your LinkedIn, all of your socials. You've got your ability to go and maybe and read the blog that you have. You've got your ability to go and read an About Us page. You've got the ability to, you have so many links and stuff coming off of this one initial page to all of this other BS, which fundamentally is a distraction. You're giving your customer too many options, right, to go and do all this other stuff. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't have a website. I'm just saying you shouldn't be sending your traffic there. You should be sending your traffic to a funnel for the simple reason that your funnel is going to have a higher conversion rate than your website because it's only focusing on one action, whereas the website is allowing people to take multiple different actions. So therefore, it will by default have a lower conversion rate. Okay. So do not send your traffic to your website. You can have your website in case people Google you and you want to have that. But to be honest with you, you don't even need one. You just need a good funnel. A lot of agencies, especially more traditional agencies, are not so familiar with this kind of online marketing high ticket space. Like this stuff kind of comes from the info world, funnily enough, like all of these funnels. You know, the agency world hasn't kind of caught up yet. A lot of them are just using good old websites to book their calls. But, you know, it shouldn't matter where your traffic is coming from, whether it's organic, social, referrals, events, paid, whatever. You want to funnel it to a specific action. You do not want to send it to your website. So for that reason, I think any agency that is using a website as their main booked call conversion mechanism is very silly. And I would say website is pretty much F tier. So next, let's go on to a quiz funnel. So a quiz funnel is somewhat similar to a VSL funnel, except there's no VSL and there's a quiz. Basically, the page would look something like this. You know, it's going to be pretty short form. It's going to be headline, subheading, and then there's going to be sort of question one, which might, you know, be similar to what you have in your application form. You know, question one, but typically the question one of a quiz is a little bit more aspirational. It's like, hey, are you trying to scale your brand? Or hey, are you trying to lose weight? Or hey, are you trying to exit your SaaS business or increase your leads that you get, right? It's some kind of aspirational question because that just drives engagement, right? You want the first question that they see to be boring. And then there's going to be, you know, a yes, or there's going to be a no. Okay. And then again, that's pretty much it. You know, that can be where the page ends. Again, some people like to do longer form, but again, I don't see the point of that, right? Longer form pages means people are going to be spending time scrolling rather than spending time freaking going through this quiz. So for quiz funnels, I like to keep them very short. Now, again, we're sending traffic to this page and then we're basically taking them through multi-step questions. So you can think of it as somewhat similar to what we're doing here in the application form on the traditional VSL funnel, except a quiz funnel, it's a little bit longer. You know, here we want to really only have sort of 5 to 8 questions because we're really making it clear that this is an application. You know, this is an application, this is a quiz, all right? So there's more questions. The questions might be like multiple choice, might be a bit more engaging. Typically, this is going to be more sort of like, you know, 6 to 10, can even be as long as like 15 or 20 in B2C, but B2B, you know, still want to keep it relatively short. So definitely more questions than the type form. We're still using conditional logic here though, so it's still disqualifying people. But essentially the quiz should be selling people, right? As they go through the quiz, you should be like painting a picture of their desire in their head and obviously of what they want to move away from. So examples of that, like a classic quiz funnel is the health and fitness funnel, right? Obviously, if you're an agency owner, this won't appeal to you, but it's a good example. Health and fitness offers have always used quiz funnels because it's like, how much do you weigh? What's your height? What ideal body type do you want to have? How many hours a week do you want to spend working out? And, as you go through this quiz, you start painting this picture of what your ideal fitness life looks like. And then by the time you hit the lead capture stage, which is at the end, which is typically say, hey, to see the results of your quiz, fill in your name, email, phone number. You fill in your name, email, phone number. You get a results page and sort of a personalized outcome. So you might have 2 or 3 or 4 results pages. And then at that point, that's where you push to the sales call. So I'd typically recommend using a software like Perspective for this. Building this in a custom funnel builder is going to be pretty difficult. Perspective, obviously ClickFunnels, you kind of need to use one of these more traditional funnel builders for this. You can use Typeform as well, actually. It just slightly changed the framing. It shouldn't feel like an application. It should feel like a quiz. But yeah, if you're going to go down this route, probably I would recommend Perspective. It's a great quiz funnel builder. And yeah, this works really well. I have a couple of agency clients using this right now for their funnels, and it works great. The engagement is way higher. The start rate on a quiz funnel is going to be much higher than the start rate on a Typeform application on a VSL funnel. So the engagement's great. The friction is quite low. You get pretty pre-sold people after the quiz. So it's definitely a good option. For that reason, I would probably put quiz funnels in A tier. Still just prefer VSL funnels personally because they're a little bit simpler, and simplicity scales, complexity fails, right? Next, we have a low ticket product funnel. So again, this is something very much from the info space, but a lot of agencies have started using this, especially email marketing agencies. You guys love this, selling your email swipe files and copy templates and all this stuff, right? So again, fundamental idea is the same. So you're sending traffic to a page, except this time it's going to be typically a longer form page because you're trying to get a sale. It's almost like e-com. And there's going to be the headline, the subheading, maybe like the product right here, checkout details here, and then, long form copy here, results, FAQ. Like it's going to be, you do have to put a little bit more effort into this kind of a page because obviously, you're trying to sell something, right? You can even also have a VSL above here too, so you can kind of combine the two. But yeah, if you're sending people to a page such as this, a landing page, I would ignore this. You're just sending someone to a landing page. I also like to have the checkout page on the same page, so there's just a little bit less friction. You might have like VSL and then like buy now, and that's essentially a different page, but I want to keep everything on one page just to minimize drop off. And then, yeah, basically people are able to buy the product. The product's going to be anywhere from $27 to $97. The lower the better. I typically see $27 working better and just having more volume. You want to get as many leads for quote unquote free as possible, right? The whole idea with this funnel is you're typically running it through ads. I wouldn't recommend this as an organic funnel. You kind of have to pair this with ads, but you're basically getting free leads because you give Facebook $27 and that's your CPA, and then you get that $27 back, right? So you're typically looking at like a 1x CPA. In fact, a lot of people actually go below 1x as they scale up, but typically your rule of thumb is you're looking for a 1x, maybe 1.5x. By the way, I'm not an expert on low ticket product funnel. I have run one myself, but I'm not like a world expert. So just bear that in mind. And then there's typically going to be an order bump as well after the $27. That will be on another page. And this is going to be sometimes quite a lot more expensive. Sometimes there's more than one order bump as well. There's like 2 or 3. This will be like 149, whatever. This is going to really try and get your AOV up. So your AOV is a core metric here because, that's going to inform basically your profitability on this funnel. But yeah, the whole idea is you're just going to get a ton of leads for free versus any other funnel where you would obviously not be getting them for free. You would be paying for them, such as the lead form funnel. Okay, you're in the red here. You're not liquidating your ad spend with any kind of low ticket product. And so the nice thing about that is you're filling up your email lists for free. You're giving your setters ammunition for free. You're able to get a lot of retargeting ads targets for free, right? You do need to have an absolutely lethal setting team to come in and absolutely dial the hell out of these people. This really is what makes the low ticket funnel explode, is when you have fantastic setters who can dial the purchasers and also the people who have obviously partially filled in the checkout and abandoned the checkout. And then obviously you want email sequences and retargeting ads and all that kind of stuff. The general theory though with low ticket product is, I guess the zoomed out theory is like, if you're selling to just leads who have just given their email versus leads who have actually given you money, $27, $97, whatever it is, these leads are going to be much higher quality, much more receptive because they're already buyers. So it's going to be way easier to upsell them into your high ticket service. So it's a beautiful model, works really well for B2B info, by the way, really, really well. But I also think agencies can massively benefit from this as well. So ad creative swipe files, email swipe files, Google Ads swipe files, SEO free training, like whatever it is, you just need to make sure that it's really well designed. You might have to test a few different low ticket products. In fact, I would recommend that, which is a lot of work. That's the other thing with this funnel. It's a lot of work compared to the VSL funnel, but the payoff can absolutely be huge because, as I said, you're basically scaling for free and getting all these leads for free. That's the idea. So yeah, it's definitely harder to crack, and that's why I would probably put it in B tier. I think the potential here is huge for agencies to come in and execute well, but it has a lot more moving pieces than the VSL funnel and even the quiz funnel too. So for that reason, simplicity scales, complexity fails. That's my rule of funnels. I'll put it in B tier. Next is the lead magnet funnel. So every agency, well, not every agency, but a lot of agencies have tested this one outright. You know, it's the Alex Hormozy classic. You send traffic to a landing page. There's a lead magnet offer on here. So it's going to look something similar to the low ticket product funnel, except the thing is free. You don't have to pay for it. So again, the page can be a bit shorter. You won't have to have as much sort of long form copy convincing people to buy. It's going to be a bit shorter because obviously it's free, right? Who doesn't love free? You don't need to do much convincing so long as the headline and the subheading of the product is good. And then, you know, this can be typically a free guide, a checklist, a free course, those kinds of things. And then of course, once they opt in, they're going to a thank you page. On the thank you page, there's also going to be a book a call CTA, maybe with a quick video. And that's where maybe like 25 to 33% of your bookings will come from. So it won't be the majority. The vast majority of your bookings will come from after the lead magnet has been delivered via email sequences, via setters, via retargeting ads. That's going to be where the vast majority of your bookings come from, especially when you're running this on paid traffic, which we have done for quite a few clients. So don't expect the majority of your bookings to come from after they've gotten the lead magnet, okay? Now, I honestly don't like lead magnet funnels because I do not see a reason why you would do a lead magnet funnel versus prioritizing the most direct funnel, which in my opinion is a VSL funnel. To me, lead magnet funnels, again, they just have more moving pieces. I like to add them on after we've really kind of feel like we've maxed out a VSL funnel because again, you know, you have to have a really good setting team. You have to have a really good, you know, motion around that. And yeah, I just don't love them. Like for that reason, I think I'd much rather spend as much money as possible on a VSL or a quiz funnel and then only sort of do lead magnet funnels when I feel like I've maxed those out. And to be honest, I'd probably even do a low ticket product funnel before I do a lead magnet funnel. Now, obviously lead magnets can be good for organic traffic as a way of getting people off platform and into an audience that you own. And obviously a lot of creators do that. But again, I personally don't do that. I would rather direct people from platforms like Instagram and Twitter and top of funnel platforms to YouTube. And so that's really my main link in bio there because YouTube is a lot longer form and you're allowing people to spend more time with you. And that's where they convert onto my high ticket offer from YouTube. Newsletters kind of do the same thing. So obviously you're going to be doing more of an email newsletter strategy with the lead magnet funnel because you're collecting way more emails than if you were to send it to YouTube. But I personally prefer the sort of YouTube route, so I don't run them. And, you know, I don't love them on ads either. Now, next is the webinar funnel. Now, again, this is something coming from really the info world. And I think this is a huge opportunity for agencies in 2026. Absolutely freaking huge because no one is doing it. It is a blue ocean for agency offers. And the reason is because there's a huge moat around webinars because they are so much bloody effort to do. And I think there's an absolutely huge space for people to come in and crush it with this, okay? Especially if they have a good organic following. So if you don't know what a webinar is, it's pretty simple. Again, you're driving traffic to a page. At this point though, it's a webinar registration page. It would look sort of like headline, subheading, a picture of what the event actually is going to be, and then, you know, sign up now here. So name, email, phone number, and then, you know, again, a bit more longer form copy about who you are, why you should come to this event, etc. Now, then once you've got the registration, you're going to send them to a thank you page, which is going to have, it's not actually going to try and sell them anything, really. It's not going to try and get them to book a call. It's just going to tell them what to do. So, hey, make sure to add this to your calendar. Make sure to, you know, freaking show up, right? Make sure to, you know, go watch this YouTube video to see what we're about. That's all it's trying to do. Then in a couple of days, you're going to have the webinar session. I recommend doing live webinars. I don't see the sort of auto webinar strategy that much. That was kind of maxed out about 5-10 years ago. So most people are running live webinars. So it actually will be, you know, they have to wait for like, depending on when they sign up to like 3 or 4, 5 days. You should be running one every week though. If you don't want to run one every week, you don't have to, but that's obviously most optimal because it means there's the least amount of wait time. And so you're going to have the highest sign up conversion here. Running one every week is a lot, I know, but that's what the big dogs do. So you should probably try and copy that if you can. Obviously, you only have to create the webinar presentation once, you know, and so you're just sort of iterating on it each week. Again, I'm not the world's expert on webinars. I have run ads for a webinar. I've never run one myself, but I do know that, they crush because we've got clients that run them. And then, yeah, basically you're doing typically a 45 to 90-minute presentation in the B2B space is what is typical. And then basically you're actually making a CTA for people to book a sales calls. You're not actually selling them because you're probably selling a super high ticket product, right? 3, 4, 5 grand a month, maybe more. So people can't really, even if they've just watched a webinar, it's still not going to be the best thing to try and sell them on that webinar. It's much better for them to actually book a call. And then the nice thing is those sales calls are going to be very easy to close. You can easily expect sort of 40% SCR, maybe even 50% SCR on these live calls versus cold traffic where you're probably seeing 20% SCR, right? So that's the reason why you run a webinar over something like a VSL funnel. And then again, you're going to have post-webinar follow-up, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot that goes into it. And, making this presentation is no small feat, trust me. But as I said, yes, would I rather you do a VSL funnel first? Absolutely. I think webinar funnel, if you've got to be very experienced, you've got to know what you're doing to do a webinar funnel. But the thing is with VSL funnels is everyone runs them because they're easy. And so especially if you're in a more saturated competitive market, you're going to stand out way more doing webinars and live events. Obviously, there's, you can do webinars, you can also do workshops, you can do multiple day workshops, multiple day webinar live events. Like there's a lot of stuff that you can do in this space. And as I say, I just don't see many agencies doing them. So, for example, Google Ads workshop. Hey, come along with your Google Ads issues and we'll solve them live on a call. You can answer all the questions you want. And obviously you pitch at the end. That would crush. I've never seen that in my life. Like, are you fucking kidding me, guys? That would absolutely slap, in my opinion. And there's so much creativity here. I think there's a huge opportunity here. I'm getting a bit excited. But anyway, nonetheless, make sure you start with your VSL funnel. Sometimes webinar funnels aren't going to be necessary. If you sell a super simple offer, ultimately a VSL funnel can definitely communicate that and get the job done. But I just think there's a cool opportunity here. So I'm going to put them in A tier. I think I want to sort of test them more myself, but I do think there's a huge opportunity to stand out here. Now, next is the lead form funnel. So a lot of agencies run this foolishly because this is basically where you would use meta instant forms pretty much. The nice thing about meta instant forms is you get a lot more leads than you would get sending people to another page because it's obviously native, embedded into the platform. It's trusted. People can see it's a Facebook native feature. It's low friction. People just have to, before even clicking off the story, they can just go through the form and fill in their details. You're going to get way more signups. The problem is these signups are going to be way lower quality than if you were to get a sign up via an opt-in or a VSL funnel, right? And that's a problem, right? So the main thing with lead form funnels is quality. That's what they struggle with. Okay, so again, you're going to have definitely a setter team here because there's going to be a load of volume and the setter team just has to wade through the crap to find the actual good leads. Again, there's going to be a thank you page with a book a call, but you're just not going to get the majority of your leads from here. Again, it's probably going to be like 1/3 of the leads that book themselves in. The majority of the leads are going to be booked in via setters at this stage here. It has to be an absolutely gigantic setting motion, which most agencies, they do not have setters on the team. They don't know how to hire setters. This does not work without setters. I want to make that very clear. So for that reason, I just think it's not worth doing. The VSL funnel, again, setters are important, but they're not needed until very heavy amounts of spend because the majority of people that are going to book will just book themselves in. So yeah, for that reason, lead form funnel is hovering between D and E tier, to be honest. I'm honestly going to put it in E tier. And then finally, we have the profile funnel. So this is, again, something that's been popularized by the info space, but absolutely crushes in the agency space too. Obviously, the profile funnel, you can just do a profile funnel by posting on that given platform, and obviously people see your bio and see your content and then DM you or book a call. That would kind of be considered a profile funnel. But I suppose the modern day interpretation of a profile funnel is where you actually run targeted Facebook ads, follower ads, to get people faster and at higher rates onto your profile. So the whole idea here again is that your cost per booked call is going to be lower than a VSL funnel because you're dealing with warmer traffic and your sales calls are going to be warmer as well. So conversion rate will also be higher. So when executed correctly, I do think this can crush. I think the issue with this is scalability. I haven't heard people spending more than like $200 a day, $300 a day successfully on something like this. I also think follower quality is another massive issue. Like getting that dialed in is pretty tricky. We do run these ourselves and it does work well, but it's not by any means our main source of acquisition. It's quite a tertiary source of acquisition. It's actually a pretty slow moving funnel because people need to follow you and then they need to get nurtured by your content for quite a while. So I think the sales cycle is going to be a lot longer here maybe up to 30 days, versus a VSL funnel where the sales cycle can be really short. It can be like 7 days, depending on your offer. Again, you're probably going to need to get yourself a pretty good DM setter here, because some people will book in through your bio or whatever, sure. But typically on Instagram, and this is the main platform for the profile funnel is Instagram. I don't recommend running any other profile on like X or anything like that, because X doesn't even have follower ads. I don't even know what, like YouTube doesn't make sense. There's no profile. Like I haven't heard of anyone doing it on TikTok. So Instagram's the main thing here. You're going to need to get yourself a pretty good setter to kind of, get through all these inbound leads and qualify them. And, 70% of your calls are going to come from the setter here as well. And then obviously you can get them on a sales call. So I think if it works, it will work fantastically. You're probably going to get like a 10x ROAS from something like this based on what you spend, but it will just be at relatively low scale. So it's definitely no harm running it. It's just going to an extra profit engine, but the main focus is going to be your VSL funnel or your quiz funnel. So for that reason, I'm going to put the profile funnel into B tier. That being said, though, if we want to talk about the profile funnel as just organic, I know people who absolutely crush with content on Instagram and obviously organic content, but this channel is more about the paid side, as you guys know. So for that reason, I'm putting it in B tier. But yeah, guys, that's everything for this video. Hopefully it was valuable. If you want to learn how to run paid ads to sign 5, 10, or 20 clients a month for your agency, or if you want to improve the performance of your current paid ads so that you can sign 2 or 3 times as many clients as you currently are, then there's going to be a link in the description to book a call with me and my team. And we're going to walk you through our $10 million Facebook ads framework in full so that you can see what we're doing for our clients and how we get such awesome results. Also follow me on Instagram, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Subscribe, it's free. Peace.